Good afternoon. I'm Scott Dowd, and with me in the studio now, Joshua Bell, one of the great violinists of our day, and just coming from rehearsal. And welcome to Louisville.
Thank you. Thanks. It's great to be here in Louisville. It's been a while. I had a nice rehearsal with the orchestra. Just they're sounding great, really.
Yeah. Now you have worked with George Mester before, though.
Well, I have about 25 years ago when I was at summer camp at Aspen, Colorado. I was 15 years old, and he was conducting the orchestra. I played in the orchestra then, and I think he conducted the Holst Planets, if I can remember correctly. And I haven't seen him in 25 years, so he hasn't changed a bit. But it's fun to finally work with him, and yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, he does have a lot of energy. I remember liking him as a kid, as a conductor, and he's a good guy too. And I think we're getting along well musically, and I'm happy I get to play this piece, the Lalo Symphony Espagnole, which you don't hear too often these days.
No, although we are going to listen to a little bit of your recording this afternoon after we finish this interview.
That's a very old recording.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about that? We talked briefly on the phone about it, but once you've put it on tape, do you listen to it again?
I try not to, and as much as I will be listening to your station all afternoon, I'm sure I will probably tune out for my part. It's it's hard when you put something down. It's so permanent, and your ideas change. Of the piece, you grow with a piece over the years, and then you listen to the way you thought of the piece 20 years ago. It can be nerve-wracking to do that, but that's just the nature of it, and I like performance. I like live performance. That's where the music just happens, and it happens that once, and it lives and dies there. But it's something special about live performance.
What is it about this particular piece that has you still performing it? What still excites you about the Lalo?
Well, actually, the Lalo Symphony Espagnole was the first major violin concerto that I studied, even just before the Mendelssohn, which is usually Mendelssohn and Bruch are usually the first ones. For some reason, my teacher gave me the Lalo, and it's quite a difficult piece, and so I've been playing it a very, very long time. But it's a virtuoso piece. It shows off the violin in amazing ways, but it's also got a lot of depth. It's got so much beauty and flair. You have to bring this Spanish flair to it. But I grew up listening to Heifetz playing, and in Heifitz's day, this was one of the big war horses. And nowadays it's funny, you don't hear some of these pieces, these showpiece concerti very often, and I'm glad to be doing that instead of always the same Beethoven and Brahms and Mendelssohn, which are great pieces, needless to say.
Sure. And you're going to play this several more times. Are you playing it in Europe?
Yeah, next week I'll be in Europe playing it in Switzerland and Romania, and I chose to put it on in my repertoire list for this year and next year as well, and probably in a few more years I'll let it sit for a couple of years and then bring it back again. And when you do that, you rediscover your love for a piece, and it's good to put things down for a while and then bring them back up again.
Now, you're originally from this general area up near Bloomington, and your mom and sister were going to come down. Are they here yet?
They are here. I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and I grew up there, went to school at Indiana University. Now I'm teaching there a tiny bit, 2 weeks a year, but because I have such a crazy performing schedule. But I'm very loyal to the university there, and it's nice. It's only an hour and a half away from Louisville, so my family's coming down to check it out. So.
Now, your parents weren't musicians; they're psychologists, right?
Well, yeah, I would say they certainly knew a lot about music, and they played music. My mother was quite a good pianist, amateur pianist. My father was he was a choir boy. He grew up singing seriously as a child, and went into psychology and became a professor and researcher and shrink. But music was always in the family, so it's not like I came out of a totally non-musical family. But all my sisters, cousins, everyone played something, so it was a very natural thing for me to pick up an instrument. Although I was quite young, my parents discovered me playing with rubber bands on the dresser doors, which I would string across them and open the doors to make different tunes, and I would copy tunes that I heard, and I could tell my mother what pitch they were, so they thought, let's give him a violin, so that's how it started.
Well, I understand that the concert is just about, if not every seat in the hall, just about sold out. Are there maybe one or two, Heather?
There's probably 2 rows.
A couple of rows. So, if you want to squeeze into the back of the balcony for tomorrow night's concert with Joshua Bell, George Mestre, and the Louisville Orchestra, you can still call the Kentucky Center and 587. Am I getting that right? 584-7777. And Joshua, thank you so much for being here.
Sure, thank you.
And couldn't have asked for a better way to finish this week out and have you here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here in the studio and to be in Louisville.
Joshua Bell will be with the Louisville Orchestra, George Mestre, tomorrow night performing the music of Edward Lalo, and we're going to listen to the opening movement of the Symphony Espagnole. This is a recording he made for London Records, and you know what? I forgot before I do that. I forgot to ask you, you've got a new CD coming out.
Yes, I do actually, come to think of it. I'm actually quite excited about it. It's just coming out in a couple of weeks. It's for Sony, and it's called At Home with Friends, Joshua Bell At Home with Friends. And it's unlike anything I've ever done before. It's a sort of a collaborations or duets album with all kinds of interesting musicians that I've collected over the years, some classical, some not. Sting does something with me, and Chris Bodie, the trumpeter, and Kristen Chenoweth, a wonderful Broadway singer.
Yes.
Anushka Shankar does a piece that Ravi Shankar wrote for us, and Edgar Meyer and his bluegrass guys that I made an album with years ago. They're on there, so a lot of interesting collaborations, all put together onto this one album. It's called At Home with Friends because I like to have these musical soirees in my house in New York and mix it up like that, and so it's just kind of a reflection of that passion of mine.
Now, Edgar Meyer, of course, he was here last year doing the Fanfara concert, so it's an interesting connection.
Well, Edgar and I was 13 when I met Edgar, and he introduced me to his world of music, and he's one of the most amazing composers, musicians all around. I mean, I've learned so much from him, and so brought him back on this album. Josh Groban is also on the album. So it's Nathan Gunn, who's from the Midwest, one of the great baritones. He's on there as well. There's a lot of Regina Spektor, who's now one of the hottest folk singers. She agreed to slum it with me on this album. So it was so much fun to put this together.
Now, when you're doing something like this, are you in one studio all the time, or are you moving around to wherever they are?
A lot was done in New York, which is my sort of second home. But sometimes I moved around. I went to Malibu to record with Sting, and we're near his house. I was happy to go to him. But yeah, and it was done over a period of a few months. Trying to work it out with the schedules of all these people was a bit of a logistical nightmare, but it worked.
I can't imagine.
It's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Well, in your own schedule, you're a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, I'm on the road about 240 days a year or something like that. So.
And all over the world.
Yeah, I've been. Just this past month, I think I was in 4 continents. So I'm pretty much traveling all the time and everywhere. Mostly the civilized places, I don't get to go too often to remote parts of the world that I would love to go to. Although when I finally have a day off, from concertizing, I kind of want to go home. So I have yet to go to Vietnam and a few other places, but pretty much most of the major cities of the world I get to travel to. It's a great job.
Other than Antarctica, is there a continent you haven't been on?
No, that's it. That's the
only one.
Continent.
So, yet to be conquered. Now, what do you do when you're not performing? I mean, when you have that rare day off?
I tend to go, if I'm not visiting my family in Indiana, I'll go to my home in New York and see my friends and eat at interesting restaurants. Food is one of my hobbies, on the road and at home. Mm-hmm. And just try to do normal stuff, go see movies and I'll go listen to music on occasion, but usually it's to hear friends play if they're passing through New York, or go to a jazz club or something like that. But
now, are you going to get a chance to eat at any of the interesting restaurants in Louisville? Because there are quite a few.
well, I just arrived, so
Yeah.
just in time for the rehearsal, so I haven't yet asked recommendations. So maybe after during a break, I'll ask you for your.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a foodie, as you can
Yeah.
tell, all 300 pounds of me.
Okay.
So I'll be glad to tell you where the good spots are.
Oh, good, good.
Joshua Bell, again, thank you for being here, and we really appreciate it, and have a wonderful concert tomorrow night. Break a leg.
Thanks for speaking.
No.